Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the 22 Panels Milestone Book Club with the brothers Anderson, not related, not in the same state, don't do the same job. We got one writer, we got one artist. Um,
We are both just as handsome, but
Exactly.
yeah.
Yes.
I'm not going to judge that one.
uh, yeah.
Barkus,
No.
you win.
Oh, thank you.
Of the three of us, even. Barkus, you win.
What? Oh, come on, man. No. Not at all. It's a draw. It's a draw straight down the middle.
No, I'm
I
certain that
won't
I'm
hear
in
anything
last.
else. Nah,
Certain that
man.
I'm in last. Why do you think I always have the cap on and
Ah.
hide and
All right, listeners, you're gonna have to listen to us argue about this for 90 minutes. Get ready.
90 minutes? I
I'm
was only
joking.
going
I'm
to do
joking.
it for like 9 more minutes.
I know it's shock value, shock value. That way, when they actually get an enriching comic book discussion, it's going to be a happy surprise.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Oh.
I like that idea. So bore
Mm.
them for like half an hour and then talk comics
Right.
and we'll get our reader or
Oh, not even. We won't even talk the handsome. The handsome off is over, man. We it's a draw. I'm calling it right now.
you're
Now we can
calling.
talk about comics.
There we go.
That was a good 2 minutes.
That was
Two
good.
minutes.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think we actually did more time on boring them before confounding them with comic talk than we did on the handsome off. But
Right.
our first issue this time was another Kurt Busiek issue, though I think he found his voice better on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that this is absolutely like a Kurt Busiek issue.
Yeah.
Like, if I hadn't known going in, I probably still would have been like, "Oh, this feels a lot like Kurt Busiek." Like,
Yeah.
it is absolutely. I forgot I was going to do this. I was going to check the dates because I figured I was trying to figure out like when he started Astro City and when he was doing this because this is an issue of Astro City, like just straight up that,
I can
like
find out pretty quickly. Keep talking.
yeah, it's very. I mean. It is very much his. I don't want to call it a shtick, but it's his bread and butter. Where it's he does like what is the life of sort of a normal person in a superhero world? How can a person with no powers make a difference? That kind of thing. It's very it is like the heart and soul of stuff like Astro City that he likes to do. Um, just in this case with Icon and Rocket and about a little kid as opposed to the adults of yeah, let's see. 1996 is when it started, and this came out. What's the cover date? I'm just looking at his Astro City stuff.
His
Let
icon is
me see. Where's my book? Oh God, I left it out in the other room. Oh crap.
May
In any
1st,
case,
1994.
okay. So this is this is just before he starts Astro City, although he was probably working on it at the time. But yeah, like this is a and also actually I should check the cover dates. Where does this compare to the static one we read last month? Did this come out before or after the static one or about the same
feel
Yeah,
like it
time?
was
I'm actually
right
not sure.
in that.
Yeah.
I think that's in the table of contents. Let me look. Yes.
Yeah.
So
I just wonder
February
if they had like
94, March 94, April 94, May 94, and June 94. And actually, it says this is March 94. So it probably, well, actually, this was back. So it probably said May and came out in March.
okay.
Because
So I went to the
remember
static
they
issue.
used to have so yeah, the issue 1 of or issue 9 of Static was the month before this, but otherwise we're
Okay.
looking at Icon issues that were coming out at the same time as
Yeah.
the Static issues we read.
Yeah, and only this one is by Kurt Busiek. Actually, we get an interesting cross section because we get Kurt Busiek. We get I forget who did the second issue, but it's not one of the usual writers, I don't think. Um, then we get one written by M.D. Bright in addition to art by him,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and then we get the one by Dwayne McDuffie doing something very specific, kind of less part of
Yes.
the ongoing series and more like Dwayne McDuffie making a point.
But honestly, one of the more memorable.
Oh no,
you talk-
completely. And that
Yeah,
character, yeah, I mean, what they do in that issue comes back and gets used in an interesting way. And no, yeah, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but like, or I'm
Well,
getting
one
ahead
of
of
one
us,
of the
but
points that I loved that he was making there, or one of the things I loved about him making that point is Busiek's first writing job was Power Man and Iron Fist.
I forgot about that, but that's not.
Yeah.
But that's
Which even he knew that he wasn't like properly.
yeah. I didn't know
Well,
that
actually,
either.
well, I'm gonna. Can I use that to segue into
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
I've been? All right, all right, all right, all right. So, oh, man, this Busek issue is cool, right? But
Yeah,
I
it's fine.
like they do some interesting things, like with the little boy who's and actually, like, forgive me, guys, because I have read all these. I read these more than once. I actually kind of remember reading this issue as a kid. But
Right.
I didn't read prior to this just because I've read this in like the last 6 months.
Right.
Anyway, but what I do
And
remember of it,
you were illustrating a graphic novel. I mean,
Yeah, a
yeah, it's
little
neither
bit
here
because
nor there. Yeah, I know, but that's not even the point. That's not my point. My point is that this kind of has like super predator energy in the sense, and in super predator, I'm referring to like
Mm.
it's interesting because
yeah.
because in recent years, right, like especially since what the like past two election cycles, both Hillary uh and Joe Biden, they have stuff that didn't age well from the '90s, right? When it comes to the crime bill and campaigning for the crime bill, and Hillary said something that was not solely her idea at all. And it's actually more complicated than just putting it on Hillary or Biden. I only bring it up because it re-entered the conversation in that way.
Absolutely.
And interestingly enough, I would say on a larger, so there was like many things. There was a debate, discussion, whatever you want to call it, conversation, amongst Black people at the time in the '90s about crime in the community, about like, what to do about it, how to handle it. And obviously some people were recognized like the roots that have gone unaddressed, and wanted to deal with it on a more holistic level. Some people wanted to deal with it through the justice system. And the whole super predator narrative like really played off of the idea that these are just these young people, they got guns, they are the most deadly type of human being ever, and you just have to avoid them at all costs because all they want to do is kill you. And I say all this to say, um, this evoked the page that is my only gripe with Kingdom Come.
Hmm.
And in Kingdom, I don't know if you guys remember this, but in Kingdom, it might not have bothered you, but in Kingdom Come, I love Kingdom Come. The DC, it's an Elseworlds book, I would say, right?
I think so.
And in Kingdom Come, which was written by God, he's the writer I like. What's his
Wasn't it
name?
Mark Wade?
Wagner. No, not
Wade.
Wagner. Mark
Wade.
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 Yes. I like Mark Wade, his work. The one thing I did not like in Kingdom Come was there was this one page where it's taking place in the future. I'm going somewhere with this. Sorry, it feels like I'm taking
No,
away.
I
heck,
feel you.
About your
No,
book.
I
But
like the journey.
it's taking place in the future, right? The future of the DC universe, in this Elseworlds universe. And you see where all the heroes have gone at this point, like what's going on with them. Batman, it's like he ages like a human being. He's not Kal-El, so he ages, and all that jumping off of rooftops, and it's taking its toll. So he's an elderly man, but he is using basically bat drones or droids that he controls that are fighting crime. And there's this one particular page, and it's like if you had to condense the super predator narrative of the '90s into one comic book page, it's this page. Because there's these little kids that I swear are like maybe 8 to 9 years old, and they commit a horrific murder like in cold blood. You know what I mean? And the bat drones have to chase them and stop them. And it really serves no point to the story. There's nothing else going on around these kids and their characters other than like, look how bad it is. Look at these scary little black kids. Batman has to deal with this. But it was echoing the real life fears and concerns of the time. And I'm not even pretending like there wasn't crime. I say all that to say that it's not like the Milestone universe up to this point has not dealt with the crime that was going on in the community or crime that was going on with young people. But I
It
would
took
say that it dealt with it with a level of nuance And it wasn't like this, I don't know, it's like the story didn't strictly revolve around it even when it happened. It was like it was more like it was part of, sorry, Ted, real quick. Was it more in a lot of instances in a book like Blood Syndicate or some of these other books, if like this type of violence that is real, pops up, it would be part of the story, you know what I mean? But it wouldn't necessarily be the texture of the story. Um, so I don't know. It's just something about it. And I'll be perfectly honest. Sometimes I get a little, I think anybody can handle any subject poorly, but like, yeah, sometimes if somebody's not black is coming in dealing with these topics with like maybe not the level of nuance that I'd like to see, I do feel a certain way about it. So I didn't hate this issue, but it was a little. And the other thing about it, I will say, is these guys have like these super guns, which is a part of the story. These this young gang, these young black men, and to me, it's kind of like what's scarier than black men with guns, but black men with super guns, you know. Anyway,
No,
that's it.
this is fascinating. Okay, so first of all, I was trying to remember the page that you mentioned in Kingdom Come because I've read it a couple times,
Yeah.
and like I genuinely I remember the page where we see like the Batman drones for like the first time,
Mhm.
and I don't remember that it's a thing where it's like a bunch of little kids who have committed a murder or whatever. I didn't remember that. Like it didn't stick in my head. Like not that it's not that I'm doubting you. It's that it's like
Right.
I'm
Right.
realizing I didn't remember that element of it, and that's
Yeah, I feel like the first
disappointed. I'm
time I read
disappointed in
it,
myself.
oh, there it is. Yeah, Tad pulled it up. But and I think when I was a kid, when I was in high school, and I would have read this, it maybe annoyed me, but then I reread it recently, and I like Kingdom Come. You know what I mean? But I reread it recently in the last couple of years, and I just didn't like it. Mind you, this is all happening against the landscape of situations like the exonerated Central Park Five, where
Right.
these young men, like, I don't have to rehash the entire story. You can look it up if you don't know it, but it's like
Oof,
they
yeah.
essentially had their youth stolen from them, and thankfully they're out and they're exonerated now. But
Couple of them are published authors.
they're yeah, oh, absolutely, and one of them is
Yeah.
holding
It,
public office.
that's right.
But
He's
like,
a councilman or something, a city councilman.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But my point is, like, I mean, there were many factors that went into them, being wrongfully convicted for decades. But like, one of the biggest ones is our unfortunate 45th alleged president. But
And his
uh,
speech ad.
right. But in addition to that, just the general like fear of black men and the generalization and flattening of black men and the perceived inherent danger of said black men was also a big part of what led to them being locked up and other people like that. Anyway, that was my TED talk. We can get back to discussion this issue just as a comic book, but I did have to comment on that just a
No,
little bit
that's
because
Oh,
that's
that's
fair commentary. I
and
think the
it's something that I kind of for obvious reasons that wasn't like a thing that I realized on reading it that was interesting
uh,
because if anything, when you were describing this, I was thinking of it and I'm like, honestly, like talking about sort of the super predator myth, that actually reminded me more of the MD Bright issue. Like issue, I think
mm,
that's 13, the one
yeah.
with the where the guy steals Rocket's belt.
Yeah,
Um
yeah, yeah.
that character, that villain character
well
really
that the I went to school, I worked, I decided I
Hmm.
don't like it.
Well, and actually, it's interesting you bring that up. Oh, sorry, I want you to finish your thought, Ted.
oh
But I have a
no
thought on that I think you raised an interesting point. But go ahead.
no that's I mean that's just it was this I mean obviously I have to say I mean I went back and I realized like oh yeah no this is something I did not see it as I didn't have the perspective on it as you do and you're right I mean it is part of that and it's especially I don't know about surprising but it's especially sort of it's an especially apt critique because Milestone absolutely started off with the idea of responding to the super predator not specifically the super predator myth but responding to a lot of the discussions and hand wringing and debates about like urban crime and black youths and everything because that was I mean that's the foundational myth of the universe is that like of this universe is that this all happened because not because a bunch of gangs went to war with each other, but because a bunch of rich white guys and the police teamed up to try
Right.
and stop the gangs and accidentally gave a bunch of them superpowers and screwed everybody over. And like the foundational idea of it, I mean, like the Blood Syndicate, they're literally made out of the remnants
Right.
of two gangs that decide to team up and basically treat their neighborhoods better than anyone else has treated them, and
Yeah.
try and be a better force, a better ruling force, as not ruling, I guess, but
No,
and
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and like so for this issue to sort of walk it back is maybe a
Well,
little harsh,
yeah.
but it's written by Kurt Busiek, who I mean,
And let me, yeah, and
know.
anybody knows me is I'm a pretty balanced person. So I mean, on one hand, I feel this is the second month in a row, but I also think Kurt Busiek is a great writer, and so it's not even the like let me dunk on him for an hour type situation because Ted, you just brought up the interesting point that the MD Bright, and also I just want to take a quick minute to say rest in peace, moment of silence for MD Bright.
Of course.
Who actually I believe passed away on the day of, or at least the news broke on the
We
day
talked
of our
about it.
last episode.
We talked
Yeah,
about
I
it
that
that was the
while we
live
were
thing.
recording last time.
I was
Oh,
looking at
we
Twitter
did
live.
talk about it.
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah, it's been a long month. Sorry.
I mean, we
No,
didn't
hey.
we didn't get to talk about it because it was literally just breaking.
It
It
was
was
breaking.
happening.
That was
Yeah, no,
right.
And
Yeah,
it
that
was
yeah.
the same day as that other guy.
Yeah, but actually, this isn't a great. This is actually ties back to what you said, Ted, in pointing out that the MD Bright, thing deals with this character. It ties back to, something I referenced earlier, which was that there was a discussion going on, like, in the Black community, and like to be clear, I even referenced the crime bill, which I have problems with and had problems with in the way that it was just basically a sledgehammer approach, right? And which disproportionately locked up, Black people, while, you know, communities that were not policed as heavily had other criminals who were getting murdered, quite literally. That being said, right, even at the time, and we acknowledge this, like in the Black community, there were a lot of, Black people, Black churches, Black legislators who were also like backing the crime bill, because it is tricky, right? If it's your communities and you're looking at a situation, you're like, well, I genuinely don't like this violence. And you can even sometimes, if you feel like that violence is imminent and it even threatens your loved ones, the theoretical discussions can feel like, well, I don't have time for that. We just have to do something. You know what I mean? And I think
it
so. I
demands
say that,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, sorry, real quick, but I say that just to say that, yeah, like it doesn't shock me at all that like a Black artist, cartoonist, creator also, would have some of these themes popping up because we're not a monolith. That's my one-time
Right.
saying this episode, and like it's complex, but it's like I don't know. I don't want to spend the entire time on this particular topic, but I did just feel like it bears saying. Also, I just have a funny anecdote that's related. I'll tell later if there's time. Only if there's time. But we can move forward.
No, I mean, it's absolutely worth discussing, and I mean, the thing that I'll say, just I don't know if I'd give it credit, but the thing that I say that makes it more of a Milestone book maybe than it might be otherwise is that it's not just about it's also about where are the guns coming from, and of course it
Right.
turns out to be connected
Right.
to Alva and all that. So there's that
Yes.
element of what are the broader causes of this violence? What are the social? What are the groups or the organizations that are involved in it, that are implicated in it? So that
Yeah.
yeah, I mean he's still toying. He's still playing with these images and ideas of the super
Oh, you
predator
know what it is?
way.
Yeah, yeah. No, and that's a great point. That's a great point. And you actually, in you saying that, you kind of clarified for me what maybe like a small part of my issue is, which is that like take Blood Syndicate for example, which we referenced, right? Blood Syndicate is
Oh.
quite literally a gang, but Blood Syndicate, the book, deals with the complexities of gangs, and it deals with the fact that like historically in a lot of America's major cities, gangs didn't necessarily start out as specific threats to the community. Like in a lot of times there would be ways that gangs would look out for communities. And like, yeah, there might be problems and stuff, and they might be with each other, but it wasn't. It was literally when the explosion of, I mean, well, heroin, what was a problem. But then, like when the explosion of crack cocaine, which did not come from inside the Black community, like these are the things that made,
CIA.
gangs. Absolutely. But these are the things that make gangs like so much more dangerous. And the reputation that
Right.
gangs have in our imagination now, like, is a whole other thing than maybe pre-crack, So I say that to say that, like, a book like Blood Syndicate kind of gets into the complexities. And it's not like, hey, here's a gang and gangs are all heroes and we should all love them and give them a hug. But it's also painting like three-dimensional characters,
Right.
where more about them than the fact that they're holding a crazy gun an inch from our hero's chest and unloading, more bullets than any clip could ever hold.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I think maybe that's what it is too. Like, and I do, and you do raise a good point that like this book does get into the idea of what I was just talking about these guns didn't, even though they're being wielded by young Black men, they didn't come from those Black men or from this community, and they
Right.
came from Edwin Alva. You know what I mean? But
one of the things that, and I just did the quick research. So the book came out 2 years before the San Jose Mercury News broke the story on the CIA supplying the cocaine in Oakland, among other places. Obviously not bigger than that. But I think we've got a story that big, there start being whispers of something going on. So whether it's Busiek or the artist, I noticed as we were talking, yes, it's Alva Industries as well, but there's a very institutional look to the arms dealers. So yes, we've got our gangs at the beginning with the stuff and their pants around their hips and whatever. But then the people who are taking care of the warehouse, I mean, it's a stylized uniform. It's the type of uniform you might see in like Star Labs in the DC universe, or but it's very much it's very much a uniform.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the idea
meant to exude authority.
and these ideas that institutions and organizations and systems are really behind what's
right
affecting the community. Yeah, no, that's Milestone's bread and butter for sure, and something that is really, I mean, that's the part that Buziak, I guess, got right. I mean, that's the part that fits in better with Milestone's overall sensibilities, I suppose. I mean, not to discount what you see on the page, because that is definitely still part of what's happening in this issue, and there is like, that's still a thing that is visible in these issues, is that there is still an element of the super predator who's the urban, the ultimate urban killer and everything, and there's a tangible racism to that is undeniable. But I mean, like the bigger picture allows for a little more nuance, I guess.
No, absolutely. And you guys, and this is why we have a group discussion, because I think you guys are you're raising good points.
I
and
love that we went to all of those places, because when I read it, all I thought was, oh, this is the sanitized version of, I think it's Chucky and Daredevil 191 that thinks he's Daredevil sometimes, and Daredevil takes him swinging around the city, and then Chucky finds out his dad is a criminal, and it like completely screws up his mind.
Oh my God, I never read that one, but I know I know the kind of story you're talking about.
Well, no, I'm certain you would recognize it, because it's also Roulette. It's Frank Miller's last issue of his first run.
Okay.
Where he's telling this story to
I kind of remember this.
Bullseye in a coma, and playing Russian roulette with him while he tells it.
Okay.
It was like the first comic I ever read that made me go, oh wow, I had no idea you could do that with comics.
But that element of the kid being, I mean, that's the part that stuck out more to me in thinking about this issue is just it's like, oh, it's the issue about the kid who sees Icon and
Yeah,
Rocket and looks up to
Right.
them. But
And
but
then nobody will listen to him because he's just a kid.
yeah,
right.
exactly.
Well, yeah, and you know, I want to be clear, like, just like I said, what I just said, like the fact that it's interesting having a group discussion, and while I my complaint was valid, I mean, I think you guys have brought up some valid points about some of the stuff that works in this issue and does bring a certain level of nuance. I think if I'm being like perfectly honest, the same way that like maybe you guys didn't specifically remember the babies with guns in Kingdom Come in that scene
Yeah,
because
no,
well, hold on one second. I'm going somewhere
no,
with this.
yeah,
But
sorry.
but we all have our different frames of reference and life experience, right? And like the same way that that didn't, you know, pop right out for you, like for me with my life experience and my issues and just and kind of like having seen a million and one different ways, stories, etc., where like black people are represented in a very limited light, right? And these narratives of us that are pushed over and over again are overemphasized. Like that's where I'm a little sensitive to that. And I don't even mean sensitive in the way that the MAGA clowns will say, like everybody's too sensitive. I just mean like, but it's a reality. I'm a human being.
Yeah,
We're
no,
all sensitive to different things. And for me, it's also like I'm like, wait, who's trying to tell the story? You know what I mean? So I'm perfectly willing to acknowledge that about myself too, that I'm bringing a certain level of baggage due to the weight of white supremacy in this country and very real, you know, limited representations of black people in media and pop culture. These things have impacted me, and so I can read the same Kingdom Come book. It's like a sort of a Rorschach test, you know what I mean? I can read that same issue and be like, all right, but why the baby's got to kill this guy though? You know
yeah,
what I mean? And yeah, that's all.
yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, I actually, so as we were talking, I was able to look up that page, the couple pages in Kingdom Come, because I could remember, like, what I remembered more was for that sequence was the striking image of like like there's this sort of aerial shot at one point
Yeah,
of the looking down at the bat drones, you know, converging on this group of kids.
right.
With the lights. It's very kind of a strikingly lit image. But I had totally just like it didn't stick in my head at all that the first few pages we see are, yeah, a group of young black boys. Some of them are like, you know, they're visibly preteens. They're like 9 years
Absolutely.
old and they're holding
Yes.
revolvers and like running away from a murdered couple on the alley ground. Like it
Like
I
in
had
cold blood.
completely,
Yeah.
yeah, I did not even notice it. Like it's not even a thing
Yeah.
I mean,
And to
that's
be clear,
shocking to me that I didn't
right.
realize that.
And to be clear, like that's by design, not in the sense that Mark Wade sat down and designed it and you know said and Alex Ross were like, ha ha ha, we're gonna do this. It's because like they've taken in a lifetime of media, you know, both media such as comics, etc., and just news media that pushes a certain narrative and like conditions people to see certain groups of people in certain ways. You know what I mean? So like I'm sure they probably weren't like we're making a grand statement about young black men, but it
They
was in the air. It was in the air of what was being reported at the time. It was
Yeah,
being the air of like our politicians, quote unquote debates. You know what I mean? So like
when they
these
when
things impact people.
yeah, when Alex Ross sat down to draw that panel, he was thinking, what's an image of scary urban crime? And like
Hmm.
the image that his brain came up with was black youths, a murdered, you know, couple who I'm pretty sure are white, although it's hard to tell. I don't remember. But yeah, like, you know,
I think they
holding a
were in my
gun.
memory. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I mean, something else that came to me as I was listening to you talk is also there's a sociological term for standpoint theory, which is actually a feminist term originally,
Mm.
but applies to anytime there's, you know, it applies to like any marginalized group and their positions on and perspective on, you know, a broader culture. Like the idea is basically that, you know, whoever has a view of the culture in which they live,
Hmm.
there are going to be people who are in marginalized groups and their perspectives on the culture as a whole is going to provide valuable insights that people as it were on top are not going to be able to see, you know.
Yes.
It's there's a god there's even a there's a Terry Pratchett, I think it's a Terry Pratchett quote that's also a little bit famous on the internet, something about like, you know, it's hard it's hard to be a footstool for somebody else 24 hours a day and not have an opinion about them, but it's very
Mm,
easy to have your feet up for 24 hours a day and not think at all about what they're on. It's something along those lines. Like
Yeah.
right.
it's the same idea. It's like any time the people as it were on top, the people whose power is not challenged, and the people for whom life is, things are designed to help them, are not going to see the world in the same way as those who are, it, those who are marginalized in that society, those who have a different perspective, and those people's perspectives are even more valuable for that very reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, standpoint theory. I forget where it was coined originally, and like I say, it was a feminist theory originally, but it's broadly applicable in a lot of different cases. So, yeah,
Yeah.
Mark Tad is googling the thing about like a footstool, or yeah, I don't remember the exact quote. And I only say it's Terry Pratchett because it's a very Terry Pratchett quote. Like he liked to write about a lot about
Right.
marginalization and people in the downtrodden positions of the world and so forth. And I don't
Mhm.
actually know if it's him. I kind of think it is though. Um. Anyway.
Mm.
Sorry. Yeah, I kind of bounced this all over the place on that.
No, no,
Um,
no. This is all good stuff. And I mean, like I said, we don't even need to apologize for going to different places because I think we've established that,
we've all
these
got our
books
different
can be good.
standpoints.
Yeah, and well, these books can be good. They're just good jumping off points for a lot of these
Oh
discussions. And
yeah,
I mean, you know what? In that, I think this issue is very successful because
it,
it
for
got us
sure.
it got us speaking about a lot of different things.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I mean, this was an interesting one. It was. I mean, I don't even know if I'd say it's weaker. It is like a guest issue in the same way that like, yeah, you have a fill-in issue or whatever. It's the Kurt Busiek
Right.
month or whatever. That's the issue you have. They're not. It was Kurt Busiek guest month. It's like it's fine as a
Right.
guest issue. Guest issues usually have a lot of you know they're a little bit disposable in the same sense that the static one was also just like a
Yeah.
random pulled out issue, not pulled out, but didn't have anything to do with about the lasting ones. But that's actually, sorry, this is actually a really interesting segue
Mhm.
because the next issue was also a guest issue. It's
Right.
what's the author's name? Jamie
Jackie Chin
yes, Jackie Ching
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 Ching.
King.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Ching. Sorry, I'm like going deaf as I say this, but this one is sort of, I mean, it's a guest written issue, but it's
Mhm.
actually really important in a lot of the overall character development and part of the ongoing developments of the whole series. And I really like it. Like it's a really, this was, I do have to say, I think the art's a little bit weaker. This was a guest artist in addition to
Yeah.
guest writer.
And
Um,
real quick, can I throw in that
yo,
I
yeah,
actually
please, yeah.
think for the issue we just read as well. Like I did miss MD Bright. That's all. I don't
Yeah,
want to take away the
I
discussion.
forgot that it was an MD Bright. Yeah, the kid looks a little weird at times. He's
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit like, how people make jokes about like babies in Renaissance paintings where it's a little bit like they look a little bit like real, like
Yeah.
adult people but small. And it's
Yes. Yeah, yeah. And there were some
yeah.
attempts at forced perspective that went awry. That's all.
Yeah.
But I won't get caught up on the art.
No, you're right. But yeah, I mean these four issues, as with the static four issues that we read, are all kind of, they're in between. They're in between longer storylines. They're kind
Mhm.
of they're doing their own thing, as it were. And it's, I mean, they're fine. They're fun. There's some good bits to them. But yeah, the next issue, I like how much it was integrated with the larger storylines that were going on because it's about Rocket and her pregnancy and, deciding what to do about the baby. And then also it's very specifically about the issue of abortion and anti-abortion protests and,
Yes.
reproductive freedom in a way that's really refreshing to see people talk about. Although then you have to remember, oh my God, this was almost 30 years ago and the problem is this is still happening. We're still having these.
Yeah. And
Hey, but
also, arguably, women had more rights at this time of this issue than they
They had
do right now.
significantly more rights.
Right.
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I'm just
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah. Sorry, I
no,
brought
no,
them
no.
up.
It's a little it's you're very it's just like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean I thought this was a pretty good issue. Especially again, like this being a bit of a fill-in issue. I thought it was a really excellent story. I liked how it filled in the gaps. I like how it genuinely was about something in a good way. I like that
Yeah.
it yeah, I do also like that it allowed us to have more internal conflict of Icon deciding like whether or not he should be I guess that never comes to anything, but the whole issue about whether or not he would, and in his persona as a lawyer, whether he would defend the group that's the anti-abortion group. Um,
Hmm.
and like he he feels morally conflicted, but at the same time, nobody's really getting hurt, supposedly, except that he figures out they are. But it's, I don't know. That part felt a little messy, I guess, but making it an issue very specifically about the abortion debate and the violence perpetuated by anti-abortion
Mm.
protesters is, I like that a lot. And just the overall arc of Rocket, and her uh her helping out a friend to go to the abortion clinic.
Right.
Like I thought that was, I like that element a lot,
Yeah.
and I like her being able to confront the guy at the end. Yeah. It's
It
it was a better issue than I was expecting, although it's still, I don't know. Talking about it now, I'm like, maybe I didn't like it as much as I thought I did.
it was different writers, so I don't know
Yeah.
how
Hmm.
much it was intentional, but I like the way this issue plays off of issue 14, 2 issues later, when she's lost the belt and he's angry at her and he doesn't know if
Hmm.
he's going to give it back, and she thinks
Hmm.
that he doesn't care about her at all and never did, even though we end this issue with, oh, that was amazing, it's nice to know I have somebody on my side. And that just, to me, like, epitomizes a 15-year-old.
Right.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
There's no space between, oh, I am so grateful for you that you love me and have my back and whatnot, and what, you're not giving me exactly what I want, you hate me. You hate me, why do you hate me, why are you treating me
All right, this is too real for me right now.
Yeah, I was about to say that's,
like
no, I didn't realize
This,
that. Like, you're very right that there's a huge mood swing between the two issues in a way that's,
and again,
yeah.
seeing as it's separate authors, I don't want to guarantee it was intentional, but
right.
it makes Rocket that much more real for
Mm.
me, that you can have in such an incredibly short period of time this massive swing. And I'm
Mhm.
certain this will swing back. And how
Yeah.
it's, Rocket doesn't always feel like a 15-year-old, and this reminds you that she's 15 and she's dealing with some shit.
Yeah.
And for that matter, they still haven't. He kind of alludes to the fact that they need to have a conversation, and that he's aware that she doesn't have resources, and that he's got a proposal for her, and they never get to have that conversation.
Yeah.
So I hope that that's coming up, because he's a rich ass dude. He should be able to, like, at least make her not have to worry about the nonsense parts of it.
Yeah. I like that they are doing this storyline about Rocket and and deciding what to do about the baby. I do feel
Yeah.
like maybe splitting that among a bunch of other storylines and these issues are not showing that overall storyline to its best effect. But like, I
I
do
mean,
like that it's a major part of these characters. And on one level,
Mm.
it's a little unfair if you think about it, that like, oh yeah, we got these cool characters that we love, and we're doing this whole new thing about superheroes, and like like what is it, 5 issues in, where she discovers she's pregnant, and it's something like,
Right.
I
oh,
thought it was the
I guess she's not
first
going to
issue.
be in the book for a while. But in the broader view, I really do like that, and I like the role that she plays, and
Yeah.
this decision plays in her character. So yeah.
Yeah. I probably brought this up when we were reading the first Icon issues, but I don't. I guess in my memory, I remembered the pregnancy storyline happening later, but yeah, it came in very early in
Yeah,
the
I
series.
thought it was issue 1.
it's early. I forget how early is the thing. Like it's,
Yeah,
God,
like
when does it come
maybe
up?
later in the first arc. I don't know.
Let's
And
see
then,
if I can.
but to your point, like I think it's very interesting, and I think it's interesting they dealt with it, and it does create a lot of room for discussion about many things, you know. And
Yeah.
I mean, arguably, you know, babies having babies was another very popular narrative of the 1990s,
Oh
and
God.
yeah, and like this book handled it with a lot of care and thought, and you know, again didn't flatten it to be like, oh man, this is just some, you know, wild little girl. And
Yeah. It's the end of issue 3 is the reveal.
And issue 3.
Oh, okay. Well,
God, I forgot about that. Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like it allows us. I mean, it's long enough for us to get an idea of Raquel and get an idea of who she is. You know, she's the one who convinces this 150-year-old superpowered alien who's been on Earth for all that time and like had all this
Mhm.
time to think about, you know, how he's going to save the world. And she comes busting in and says, "Hey, why don't you just be a superhero, dumbass?" And then she does it. And then like 2 issues later, after that happens, she's like, "Oh." Suddenly she's in a very different situation and it's a very different kind of arc for her. And it's I think that transition is handled really well. Not transition, I guess exactly, but like, you know, the
Yeah.
threading of those narratives is handled really well in retrospect.
Right.
That's something I hadn't really thought about as much. But like,
Well,
yeah, it
yeah.
comes super early on. I forgot about that.
And you get so much of her perspective. I think perspective is what is lacking. You know, a lot of times
Yes.
with these bigger societal issues that again are kind of dealt with publicly without a level of nuance and humanity, you know. And so like we get so much of Rocket's perspective, you know, to the extent where like the modern incarnation of Icon, where it's titled Icon of Rocket, is the title that this book really should have had from the beginning, you know, because
Oh yeah.
it's very much, if it was really just Icon, it would be a lot less interesting. You know what I mean? But it's interesting and rich because of the two of them together as a duo and
The two
all
of
the
them playing off each
dynamics.
other makes all the difference. It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something else I was going to say. Now I've totally lost it. Sorry, I interrupted you, and I was like, "What was it?" I was going to
No, no. Wait, you were talking about.
just, yeah, I don't know. The pregnancy story. I forgot how early it came up, and then how
Oh yeah.
immediately it shifts everything. But yeah, I was starting to flip ahead, and I was like, I already moved on to the Buck Wild Mercenary
Buck
Man
Wild.
issue,
Yeah.
and boy, man, that okay. So this is the one. I mean,
Another
yeah,
sense-shattering milestone masterpiece of epic distortion, brought to you by Dwayne Troubleman McDuffie, writer Mark Dolomite Bright, penciler Mike Rooster Gustovich, inker James Godfather of Soul Brown, and David Rollo Montoya, color painters Steve Rerun Dutro, letterer, and Matt Slappy Wayne, editor.
yeah, it's like this is not a very subtle parody. I mean, it knows what it's doing. Like it's not it knows Dwayne McDuffie obviously knew exactly what the hell he was doing with this.
Yeah.
And it is like yes, I liked especially in the context of knowing looking ahead and knowing what they were going to do with this character of Buck Wild. Like it you can see what the thrust of it was and what the intention was in a
Mhm.
way that's really interesting because here it just seems like a one-off kind of joke that like yes, let's do a jive talking parody of I mean let's just do a parody of Luke Cage because he was already a jive talking guy in Marvel Comics. Like
Let's pull out the P whip.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Lysistrata Jones and like let's yeah, like it comes off at the time in a vacuum as a not a shallow parody, but a very specific thing where it's
Yeah.
specifically about that
Like,
archetype. But
right.
in the context of the whole series, it's really interesting to see where it starts and knowing where it goes because yeah, I forgot how much I liked like Dwayne McDuffie doing very direct parodies of
Right.
things.
And actually, like, can I just add, and yeah, yes to everything you said, but in addition, I just want to add a little bit of context in the sense that I actually read Buck Wild as, well, yeah, obviously, you know, there's elements of him being a parody of Luke Cage. I would go a step further, and especially thinking about Dwayne McDuffie and the way that his parody often worked. I think that beyond just being a parody of Luke Cage, the character, it's a parody of the white writers at Marvel's handling
Oh,
of Luke
Oh,
Cage.
yeah.
yes, that's
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I mean, that's
I would say not even just Luke Cage. I think it's a
Oh,
parody.
everybody. Oh, yeah, don't be started.
yeah.
The
You
white
are completely
writers handling Luke Cage, Black Panther,
Mhm.
all black characters. Period.
yeah. I mean, this is coming from Dwayne McDuffie, the man who wrote the pitch for Teenage Negro Ninja Thrashers. Like,
Right.
yeah, he knew he knew very well what he was. You're right. I mean, it
Right.
isn't.
And he actually worked out a lot of his frustrations with said comics industry, like on the page, you know, like
Yeah.
with what we talked about with hardware.
Yes. Oh yeah, completely.
Manifested
Hardware.
as a reflection of, I mean, of the Alvas of the comic book world. You know what I mean? Like who
Yeah.
would only let him go but so far, and blah blah blah, and like the way they would talk down. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
all. That's all. I want to put that out there too, because I think that's very much a part of the thing. And then it's layered too, because and I say this as a person with a good deal of experience, just consuming the media of the blaxploitation era in cinema, right? And like, there's stuff too that you can critique. There's stuff that's great. There's stuff that's very much in between, and different pieces of blaxploitation cinema. Some were created by Black people, some were not. And so you get a wide variety, but like I think all in all, uh I love it, and it's got problems. It's like my friend and collaborator David F. Walker like had a publication called Badass Mofo, and he has written a lot over the years about like this very genre, and I think his coverage of it is really fascinating. It gets into the complexities and the frustrating stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But what you had with Luke Cage was like Stan the Man and them like basically seeing like, oh, this is really taking off. Like people are reading this. We need to get in on the ground floor with this for the character, and like creating a character based on what their perception of this genre was. You know what I mean? And so it
Yeah.
was very clumsy. And so, but anyway, I say all that to say that. Sorry to keep going on, but I say all that to say that is a big part of what Dwayne McDuffie is parodying, is the way that they took these broad brushstrokes and created something. And I mean, I like Luke Cage, but it's also complicated because that early stuff had some really clunky stuff that was screaming, "I was not written by Black people."
Yeah, I mean, I also keep thinking about, I've a couple times now I've sort of given a quick lecture on the history of Black Panther to students because they're curious about like, oh yeah, what does he, what was the character come from? Who wrote him first? And it's like, well, he was written by a couple of white guys, white Jewish, a couple of guys from New York who had never really
But
left.
the white is more relevant than the Jewish part in this case.
Yeah, exactly. A couple of guys who had neither of which had ever been to Africa, so far as I know.
No,
Any country
hell
in
no.
Africa,
Don't get me started. Okay.
Writing what they thought would be an interesting, cool character, ruler of an African nation, made up entirely of like, well, we don't know what the hell we're doing, and just like kind of doing their best with some really clunky, awful, racist stereotype stuff folded in, but meaning well in a way that, I mean, there's a reason that Black Panther stuck around, which is partly because he was the only dude around at Marvel Comics for a while, the only Black character at Marvel Comics for a while. Well, and not even that, but like, you know, Jack Kirby, of course, when he was doing Captain America, made sure to have Sam Wilson have some relevant takes at points of that. Like, they were
Yeah,
And at a
aware.
certain point, I
but
guess
Kirby taking over Black Panther when he came back to
Oh, yeah.
Marvel was
Ah.
one of the greatest travesties ever.
it was because he threw away some of the progress
Right.
with the character.
Not
and it was
some.
yeah, all of it,
All
really.
of.
I actually
And
have
then
never
some.
I've never read the Kirby Black Panther. I want to, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
on my
fine.
list.
You're not missing anything.
Well,
You're fine.
I know, but like I want to see what he did I want to know, what he was doing, in some cases what he was trying to do, and I like Kirby enough that I want to see even his failures and his mistakes,
Me
Um,
too.
but yeah,
As long
no,
as you understand that it's a failure.
It is on
Yeah.
all levels.
but yeah, I mean, it's also there's what's the God, a couple people have told me about this, that like Speedy Gonzalez is still kind of a relatively popular character in a lot of Central American countries because
Right.
yes, he's really horrible and stereotypical and kind of racist in a lot of ways, but he is also like one of the few points of Mexican representation in cartoons. He was on
Right.
screen. He got to do stuff. He got to outwit the idiots. Like he was a heroic character at the very least, if nothing else. So yeah, it's like there's a certain level of, yes, these characters are goofy, and yes, they were written by people who didn't really have any relevant experience with the kind of people they were writing about, but like they're still there and they're part of this tradition, and there's a history and there are things you can do with them as characters that can be really interesting and well handled. So
Yeah.
yeah, all that is to say is I do like this issue. It's fun. You're right that it's parodying more than just Luke Cage. It's about the entire comics publishing industry and very specifically Marvel, I guess, but really the whole industry and the kind of characters it produces because it thinks that's what readers want or because it yeah, I
Well,
mean,
can I just real quick, and I promise
please.
I will practice brevity because
I
I feel
no,
like I've just been doing lectures
I'm
this
definitely not
episode.
doing it. So please take
No,
over.
no, 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 no. But real quick. But all I wanted to say is just to that point, because in the instance of like Jack Kirby coming back, and Don McGregor had done some work to kind of ground things a little bit more and like expand on some of these characters beyond
Yeah.
the just cartoonishly like simple. All right, I'm about to go down a historic lecture, and let me just simplify what I'm
Well,
saying.
and
To say this real quick. Let me be brief, Ted, because I don't want to go on and on. What I'm trying to say succinctly is this: when I read the very early issues of Black Panther, I was just like, these two men did not do the briefest research on Africa. I mean, the briefest. They literally like, we got it, we're just going to put it on the page out of our brains what we think it's like, you know what I mean? And like the same thing when it comes to early representations of Luke Cage. In the chat, we can discuss this later, but I sent you a page of where in a recent issue of Ultimate Invasion, one great artist, what's his name, oh my god, Brian Hitch, tried to draw Miles Morales, and he committed a travesty of black hair.
Ooh, yeah, what?
It's and so my point is, all of these artists. Jack Kirby is a legend, right? Unquestionable talent. Uh, uh, Brian Hitch, super talented. This is a man that can draw like out of space. He can draw military weapons and vast cityscapes with amazing perspective, which are all things that require research. But when it came to drawing the hair of a teenage black young man, he couldn't be bothered to do the least bit of research. The same way Stan the Man and Jack Kirby couldn't be bothered to do the slightest bit of research. To the point where when Jack Kirby was coming back, he was like, I'm going to throw all of this away and just do what comes out of my brain because I know black people better than black people. So my point is, these are all creators that I like, but this is actually part of the experience of being a black fan of comics and mainstream comics is you like this stuff and it's punching you in the face every now and then. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
That's all. I just want to throw that out there because there's a certain level of audacity of just being like, I know you better than you, and not even I know you better than you because they're not even really taking, me into consideration as a reader.
They're just
Anyway,
regurgitating the things that are already on screen. I mean, yeah, we already have blaxploitation movies. Let's make a blaxploitation superhero and not really think about what actual black readers might like, what actual black people might work like as a comic. Yeah.
but we're not being considered. And I
Yeah.
think that's part of the issue.
Yeah. Jeez, I didn't. Yeah. Oof.
What-
Yeah. No,
what-
this
what
hair
I
is just
was-
like this hair. I do not.
It's a travesty.
It's not like a fade. It's just like there's weird
Exactly.
segments. It's
Yeah. No, now you're seeing it. You're seeing it.
yeah. It reminds me of, oh my God, there's in Final Crisis, there's the monitors who have that like weird messed up. I gotta find a picture of that now. um anyway,
Yeah.
I just wanted anyway. This is no, this is
Sorry, I don't want to distract. But
No,
I
this is
I
this
read
is what
this
it's
past week, so you guys have to read it too.
no,
That's
completely. That's the thing. Like it's no, this is the stuff that I'm not seeing when I read this, and I'm like, I realize there's so much that I'm not seeing that I'm not realizing that wasn't part of my reading experience growing up and modern, like right now. It's yeah. Sorry, I am going to send you a picture of one of the monitors from Final Crisis because, like, boy, howdy, they have weird hair, and it's very like, yeah, man, we'll see. Anyway,
Yeah.
So
All
yeah,
right.
I mean,
But,
the only thing I was trying to add to um Kirby taking over Black Panther from Jungle Edge, and it was not only was McGregor doing some research, Billy Graham had been
Billy
the head
was the
artist.
The first
And-
black
and-
person,
and-
one of the few black people to work on Black Panther until recent
until
recent
Priest.
years. Yeah.
I think it was the only until Priest.
Yeah.
Damn.
Which made a big difference.
It did. I mean, you can see. I mean, we wound up reading a lot of these issues when we were doing all of the Marvels, because there's a
Mhm.
whole chapter on Black Panther in it. And you can tell how much the game gets upped
Yeah.
when Billy Graham becomes involved. They start taking on the Ku Klux Klan and all that sort of thing, and then Kirby comes and I don't even know how to describe what he was doing. He like
It's
just threw
audacity.
out he threw out everything that had been done,
Yep.
sent them to Wakanda, threw out everything they knew about Wakanda.
Mhm.
He did the issue with King Solomon's frogs, right?
I think so. I think that was even the first one.
God, that's all I know about is that there was the thing with King Solomon's frogs. I am going to
Right.
paste a page, by the way, from Final Crisis in the chat as
Okay.
well, just to throw this one in there too.
So I mean, yeah, it was and it would be, I mean, really,
I don't know
I
if
mean,
that'll work.
to give you an idea,
Let me
you know,
try.
I mean,
Oh.
in all of the Marvels, I felt like Douglas Wolk dealt as lovingly or more so with Black Panther than anything else in the book. He was certainly very interested in talking about it with us when he was on the show, and
Yeah.
he winds up not having any Black Panther comics between. You got the first Black Panther #1 from Jack Kirby, and then Black Panther was in Marvel Team Up number 100. It's significant because it was a team up between Black Panther and Storm, which would then, you know, kind of play into Reginald Hudlin's run. And then he
Right.
doesn't talk about any more issues of Black Panther until Christopher Priest's Black Panther #1 in November 1998. You know, it went from becoming more relevant, becoming more culturally accurate. I don't want to like go too overboard to
Right.
to you know, back to the drawing board for almost 20 years.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Also, sorry, not to stray away from, but Ted, I know this is an audio medium, so people can't see what Ted shared, but Ted, are those supposed to be cornrows? Are those,
No idea.
I'm assuming that's
What
supposed
was
to be
that?
cornrows.
I missed it.
Well, it's the link that Ted shared in the chat.
Now.
Just so yeah, we're going to describe it real quick.
Oh my God.
I've ended. Wow. Wow,
So
man.
Martin shared the page, the Brian Hitch page, and then I said that the hair reminded me of the monitors from like the Final Crisis era.
Yeah.
And they have this hair that's just like it's. I don't think it's
Please
cornrows.
tell me
It's
that
just
they're
like
at least supposed to be aliens.
No,
yes,
I think
but they are just like the hair is just like lines. It's not even like it's not cornrows. It's just like
no, I think that's what the
stripes.
artist was trying to evoke, though.
Yeah,
They don't look like anybody's cornrows, but like I think.
And the fact that a couple of these characters look black, and so one of the characters, Nix Wotan, like he gets like I don't know, put into a human body or something, and the body that he's in, the human form that he has, is very clearly and very specifically black. And his hair, what the hell is his hair like? Now I've forgotten. Oh my God, this really
same. It's the same. It's the same.
Is it the same? Yeah, it's the same. Like, okay, yeah, it's odd. It's not great drawing. I mean, it's
yeah. Well, you know, when I see stuff like this hair and stuff, like is it even in the top 20 of the issues Black people face? No, but it's like, but it is indicative of the fact that people don't see us, you know.
Yeah. This, by the way, that's Jamal Igle.
It's drawn by Jamal Igle.
Oh my God!
He's the creator. I don't know.
Oh,
that
I
page
don't think
was
that doesn't look like him. I
Yeah.
don't know.
It,
But also, like, was he taking a design that was already done? It
that's
doesn't matter.
no,
that's
I
the
just
thing.
mean he's listed as a creator
As the creator?
of
Oh, he showed up.
Monitor with Paul Dini, Sean McKeever, and Keith Giffen.
This is weird. His first appearance was Dini, McKeever, and Giffen. His most recent, I mean, his sort of second appearance was Morrison and Ivan Reese. I don't know where Jamal Eichel came in. Like, I don't know what his. Well, wait a
Maybe
minute.
he
So he's a version of the Monitor, like from Crisis on Infinite Earths. Um, I don't. Okay, we're getting way off
he's
topic.
the
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
definitely.
penciler on Countdown to Final Crisis. That's where he comes in.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, and his hair has always been like the Monitor's hair has always been this weird like stripes that are just
Okay, all right. So
yeah.
maybe they're like trying to marry it to I don't know, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've really derailed us so far now. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I mean black hair in comics has been a perennial problem. Yeah, I mean going back to the Buck Wild issue. I mean it's great how I mean something that struck out to me when I was rereading it was I mean it opens in this extremely Marvel Luke Cage Heroes for Hire style with him
Mhm.
jumping through the window, shouting the set of epithets. You, you mother loving, finger licking chicken pluckers, you done
Mhm.
messed up now because I'm Buck Wild mercenary man. But the captions are about, this record, this old record that keeps playing in my head, this Marvin Gaye singing about taxes, death, and trouble, and the soundtrack to his life.
Trouble Man.
Yeah, from Trouble Man, and like talking about these, racist depictions, these stereotypes that keep, like shaping the life that he's living that he can't get away from. It ain't much, it ain't even good, but it might be all there is, and that's better than nothing, ain't it? And like that's that's kind of the thesis of this comic that it's like, yeah, it's not the best, but like that's all there is. And
Mhm.
it's something that's important to the world and to the community that's shown in the comic because of course the thing that happens is Buck Wild is being controlled by Lysistrata Jones. Icon and Rocket show up to try and stop him. And then like members of the community come out and like, hey, no, don't hit him. He's been here for decades. What have you been doing? And like that's that's what we've been talking about. This idea that these are these characters who, yeah, there have been some pretty crappy depictions, and yeah, they were probably rooted in racist stereotypes created by guys who didn't, bother to do the research.
Mhm.
But there's a history to them, and there's a weight to these characters and a way that they can be reinvented and re-understood that is there's 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 something there. I mean there's a reason
Right.
that Luke Cage has stuck around, and there's a reason that Buck Wild keeps coming back and is very deliberately and consciously brought back later in the series in a cool way.
Mhm.
That yeah, there's a weight of history here that I think that's McDuffie's that's McDuffie's thrust. Like that's his ideas. It's
Right.
yeah. It's I'm the guy talking on this. I'm not the guy who should be talking on this. But like
See,
yeah.
just really quick, I'm going back to the original appearance of the Monitor here, and
Oh,
and
God,
it
yeah.
looks like he wasn't A, as clearly black, and B, that the hair was clearly something alien.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It wasn't
Okay.
supposed to be.
Mhm.
See this. So I think
But you know what's I was going to say, like, yeah, and that's cool. Thank you for the clarification. That being said, I have seen cornrows
No.
drawn that poorly.
Well,
So
no, but what I was
Yeah.
gonna say is, so we put it on whoever drew the one that Ted found, which I don't know who drew the one that Ted found.
that would have been Final Crisis, which means it
that
was
one definitely didn't look right.
mhm.
yeah, that was whoever drew Final Crisis, like the final issue of Final Crisis. I don't remember off the top of my head. So anyway, sorry, I don't want to be slamming any particular artist too much.
Yeah, I
But
try not to do that. Too,
No,
yeah.
I just I needed when we discovered that when we had even for a second it tied to Jamal Eichel, I needed to like do the research because that didn't feel right.
yes,
Yeah.
We
it's
don't need to figure out who made the actual picture.
yeah, I'm trying to figure out how Jamal Eagle ties into this, but anyway, I
Well,
think
because he
it's
created the initial
oh in
character
the
design.
I think
So
that's
when
right.
we
Yeah.
were looking at the Wikipedia page, he's listed as the creator.
Okay. I think that issue was by let me double check here. I think it's Doug Monkey. So throw it on him, I guess. That's
Well, he hasn't been on the show yet, and,
yeah.
and Tyler knows him, so we're
Well, now you
not
got something to
throwing it
ask
on
him when
you
he is on.
hard, Doug.
Um, God, that's right. Yeah. I do, and again, like I still like Final Crisis. I like Final Crisis a lot, but um, anyway, yes, depictions of Black Heron comics, Buck Wild Mercenary Man. I still remember I've mentioned this before that I used to have the entire complete collection of trading cards for all the Milestone characters long before I read all the comics that featured all these characters.
Yeah.
And there was I remember the bit about Buckwild Mercenary Man, which I think I got the joke at the time, was that they say that like the fun fact about Buckwild in the trading card was that he has Tourette's syndrome. So he which in his case means that he occasionally shouts things like "Sweet Christmas" and so forth. And like I think
Right.
at that age I got the joke when I saw that, but it's also like, yeah, that's the joke that they're making is like he shouts out these non sequitur, non
Mhm.
swear words, you know, which is yeah,
Right.
okay, yeah,
Which are also things that
yeah.
Black people never said.
I do have to say, I did like how they integrated it into the Luke Cage show, where it was
Right.
just that, like, yeah, the barbershop he
Right.
always went to the guy at the swear jar, so he never swore, and like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
why
yeah.
he said "Sweet Chris." I did like that, but that's
No, I liked it, and that's the thing is like over the year. But again, like Cheo Hodari Coker, by the time you get to the show, you have like Black people telling stories.
yes,
So I think that you're able to get richer depictions of these characters who start. And I mean, look, that's the good thing about comics. Regardless of the character, is that different writers, for better or worse, can take a crack at it and bring new perspectives to these characters that they didn't originally have. So
yeah. There's a richness that can be given to them that is long overdue and really helps. Man, I remember I had not read much solo Black Panther stuff. I think I'd read, bits. He'd appeared in other books. He'd read some other stuff, or I'd read other stuff with him. But like the first extended run of Black Panther I actually read was the Ta-Nehisi Coates run,
oh
and I'm
yeah.
just like, God, this is really good. And it's like having what do you know? Having a black guy write it makes it better. I mean,
Yeah.
that's he wasn't the first black. He wasn't the first black
Priest
writer,
Right.
run is
but
pretty good too.
Priest. No,
no,
yeah, I
exactly.
like this one. Yeah.
And then I went back and read Priest. I'm like, oh yeah, shit, okay.
Yeah.
Like, and even Don McGregor stuff is fun. Like Don McGregor had some good
I mean,
stuff. Yeah,
when we were
And Hudlin.
doing
yeah.
our
I don't think I read
when we
Hudlin.
were doing our all of the
Did I?
marbles where we were reading like tons of issues, the one time that I like read all sorts of extra issues was when we were in Black Panther and we hit the Priest Black Panther, and it was just so good that it's like, no, I'm not reading 9 issues. I'm gonna read all 50. You know?
No, the Priest issues. When I finally read those too, I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Oh yeah.
No, but like Ta-Nehisi Coates' run was the
Ironically,
first one that I ran into.
ironically, as much trouble as white. Well, not ironically, because this goes back to what Ted was saying about feet on the footstool. Um, Black people don't seem to have nearly as much trouble writing white people as the
Of
other way
course.
around.
I mean, but
Priest did a fantastic job of writing white people.
no, but think about it. Think about what you just said. Like,
No,
I'm not. Wait, no, I'm not
as-
even taking you to task. But I mean, like,
Yeah.
like I can tell you from a black person's perspective. It's like, of course we can,
Right.
because like America is set up for white
You have
people
to.
to be the default. You know what I mean?
Actually,
so like, you quite honestly can't take in media or anything without getting a white perspective, or because white perspective isn't even a perspective. It's just quote
Right.
unquote people. You know what I mean? Like,
It's like you said, it's the default. Yeah.
yeah, which is what frustrates me sometimes when white people try to throw back in your face like, oh, if I said that, then blah blah blah, and act like
Yep.
we're all playing on equal ground, and that's the reason
Nope.
why when people are like, oh, how come there's not a white entertainment network or whatever,
It's called the
Because
rest
there
of
are
television.
40.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
right. Yeah. So it's like that's all. I just want. I mean, I know you probably know that, but it's just yeah.
Actually, I know you probably haven't, because I know you were staying away from it, but I read James, the Percival Everett book.
Oh, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read
Yeah,
it.
no,
I
no.
actually
I
finished
knew
my work,
I
so
knew
I'm
that
going
you
to read it.
probably hadn't yet because you
Yeah.
were wanting to get everything done with Big Jim and the White Boy. But I read James last week, and
Mhm.
one of the things that he did that I really, really liked, um, is he had them code switching. They talked one way when white
Mm.
people were around and a different way when they weren't.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Uh,
read that in the book review, I believe. I think they had an
yeah.
excerpt that read that.
Um, I mean, just to go along with what we were saying, you were saying earlier about, nobody has ever talked like that. No, just
Right.
just in white men's heads.
Yeah.
Um, I thought that was one of the not so subtle ways that Everett really drove home, you know, it,
Limited perception
right,
and lack of willingness to see. And also, like, look, the reality is, like, people don't see black people. And like that, when I was pointing out the hair issues and also pointing out, it's bigger than just like, oh, they do the hair badly. It's that, quite frankly, like, in a lot of ways, white America doesn't see us. Even some of our best artists and writers, like, you know what I mean? Like, you love what they do, but that's that punch in the face I'm talking about. That you read it and you're like, oh yeah, you don't see us. You literally don't see us.
right.
And when it's time to tell a story, you'll just make something up based that's made up of an amalgamation of all of your stereotypes that you have devoured for your entire life, through the media made by other people who don't see us. So I mean, that's
The
what it
cameras
comes
love us,
down
the
to.
Oscars doesn't. Or
Yep.
the cameras love us, Oscar doesn't. Sorry.
Yep. But even that, yeah, and actually, it's funny. That's a perfect example because I've spoken a lot about that. I had an artist statement that I wrote for in my last art exhibit that I did before working on Jim, and it was the title of the exhibit was formerly Invisible, and it was a reference to Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man, which the title of Invisible Man refers to the I've probably talked about this in the show before, but like the title of Invisible Man deals with like social invisibility as opposed to like science fiction character
literal.
that's
Yeah.
invisible, and it's a great book. It's one of my favorite books. But
It's a great book.
yeah, like the point of it and what I was trying to get at was with that exhibit was in that body of work was that I was just trying to like paint black people in our beauty and our complexity and but in that artist statement I had written about like social invisibility and the way it plays out in everyday life and what you just said um Ted is exactly it. It's the fact that like yeah you see black people all over the screen and billboards or whatever but it's like you're not seeing us, um, it's a subtle difference, but it's an important one.
And there's also, I mean, there's even no another layer of that, which is to what degree are black stories or black creators only recognized when they are telling stories of like
Pain.
thriving under oppression or like the struggle or whatever, and like to what degree do black creators, and this is obviously not a question I can answer, but like to what degree do black creators feel like they have to tell stories about
Right.
the struggles of being black in order to achieve recognition as opposed to being able to tell other stories that aren't just boy it sucks to be black. And this, I mean, this also applies
Absolutely.
to every marginalized group, to every identity. There are
Yes.
it's more broadly applicable, but like yeah, I mean, I also keep thinking of that great page in uh uh New Kid, where
Sure.
the two kids are offered books by are offered books by the librarian, and like the white kid gets what is transparently Harry Potter, and then the black kid is offered like what is it, like urban struggle or something. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
very like
Right.
here it's hard, basketball playing kid trying to make it good in high school, or it's like it's very, it feeds into the what is the supposed image of what a black kid should read because what a black writer should write. And yeah, there's
Yeah.
this is a conversation that's like it is a very big conversation. There's a lot of nuance to it, and there's a lot of possibilities, and there's a
But
lot to cover. But yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
and just to no, to take what you're saying and bring it back to Milestone. I mean, we've all, I think, said it before in one way or another, but it's relevant in that, like, what you're talking about, right? Is that Milestone is able to show us in our complexities, like in the larger body of Milestone work, in the sense that, you know, yes, you see people who like fall outside of these limited depictions, and you see people who do, right? Because like, so there's times where we want to like overcorrect, and it's even understandable, even if it's not advisable, in the sense that it's like, yeah, if you know you've been that our depictions have been limited to like criminals, like slaves, et cetera, at a certain point you're gonna be like, well, I just don't want to ever, I don't think anybody should ever write about that. And you know, and that's not necessarily the answer either, you know, but the answer is just like, all right, let's just show all of us, as
Realize
opposed to
there's some,
just like,
yeah,
yeah, this limited thing. And Milestone was able to do that, you know what I
of
mean?
course, yeah,
Milestone, like one of their main books is about a street gang, and it is a book where they're not specific, they're not benevolent, you know what I mean? But they're still protagonists, and they're people that you can get behind. And then there's other books with all types of stuff, you know, with all types of different depictions, and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
really what it is to be black.
And that's like what Milestone's great, incredible strength was being able to do this and have these really compelling and interesting characters who had such depth, who have such richness, and are able to, yeah, they feel real. They feel really real. I like that. It's, yeah. Ugh. Anyway, Buckwild Mercenary Man. It was, yeah, it's interesting to read it. I definitely first saw it as just like kind of a one-off satire, and then Buckwild comes back and also gets a more interesting depiction later on. And I will say also, I feel like this specific issue, I feel like that last page kind of wraps up really quickly, and I feel like it's maybe a page count thing. Like it
Mm-hmm.
kind of ends with Rocket be like, yeah, well, it's not 1972 anymore. Maybe you should grow up, or maybe you
Yeah,
should kind of change some more. And it's like, I kind of feel like Wayne McDuffie really wanted another couple pages or something on that.
right.
But that's again, he gets to come back, he gets to do more stuff. It's a first appearance of a really interesting character who plays a really interesting role in the broader Icon series. So yeah, I like that. It's an interesting read. It's just this deserves to be in a museum, man. It's fantastic. Oh, it's great, man.
And ironically, it was the month that they were
No.
honoring Jack Kirby.
Oh God, that's right.
Away.
There was the
back of
back
the
matter of that
comic.
issue is, oh God, yeah. Uh,
Oh, that appeared in this
that was
particular issue.
This issue.
a specific issue. I forgot about that.
Right.
God, that's right. Yeah. Like,
So
It
so
does not mention that he created Black Panther.
yeah. But that's the thing, though. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I don't want to harp on this, but sometimes when we speak on things, people try to shut black people down by saying like, "You guys complain about everything. You see every." And the point is, it's like I love Jack Kirby, like
Yeah.
you know what I mean, and like I I'm not cool with everything that he did. You know what I mean? But
he,
I think
he
he did. So it's like we contain multitudes, is what I'm saying.
it is it does
And
seem like Jack for every like I'm trying to think of a black character that Jack Kirby created that didn't have the word black in his superhero name.
No, don't get me started. Look. I
Yeah.
mean, if we come down to, and I know Jack Kirby didn't create Luke Cage, but like, all right, Superman is technically bulletproof, but Superman's got so many powers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Luke Cage's powers, he's really strong. Okay, one black stereotype, and the other thing is like, if I can imagine a black person being super, the bullets would bounce off them. You know, because they're black. You know, so it's kind of it's even the
And he
power
was in
set that they gave him was
he was in prison too. Like
right.
that's
He was
another
in
yeah,
prison.
that's
Yeah.
well, I mean it was
Which
unfair.
is like, and then you know, and he was wrongfully convicted if I remember
Right, that's
correctly.
another
It's
yeah.
which so I guess at least there was that, but like yeah, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Jack Kirby was also a complicated character.
Right.
well, I mean, I'm the king of allow for growth, allow for people to be complicated, good people to do bad things, bad people to do good things. Today's Earth Day.
Ooh.
Like my trivia question particularly for my lefty friends, was what president declared the first Earth Day?
Oh God, wasn't it? God, was it Nixon?
It
Probably
was.
Nixon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
I
the
mean,
president
it,
who created the who didn't he sign the Clean Air Act, or did he
yep,
and founded
Clean
the
Air and
EPA, I
Water
believe,
Act.
right? Yeah, it founded the EPA.
Right. You know, I mean, if we're being brutally honest, before Biden, Nixon was the
The
president
creator of
that
the
did
war
the
on
most
drugs.
for,
No.
well,
Yes.
that too, but
Yeah.
the president that did the most for the environment.
Hey,
Right,
yeah, and
right.
then Jimmy Carter
He
put
did the most for a lot of bad things too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter put solar panels on the White House, and
Yep.
then
But
Ronald Reagan took them off.
Oh my
Reagan
God.
actually also managed to get rid of aerosols.
That's true. Although it
Reagan
was
had a mixed environmental
I
record.
wasn't that was I thought that was like a UN panel recommendation or something. Anyway.
Yeah, but
But it
I
happened
mean,
under
Yeah,
his
no, it
watch.
did happen under his yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
there's
we
a lot of
signed on to it.
that's
Right.
true. Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
The UN
um
has said things that we said, yeah, we're not feeling it.
yeah, like the whole Geneva Convention. Oh boy.
Right.
Anyway,
Mm.
I do want to hit the last icon issue because this was the one this is the one that MD Bright wrote, number 14.
Right.
And it was I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I do obviously love MD Bright as our artist. I don't necessarily know that his talents were in writing, and that's just sort of a I don't know. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm already starting harsher than I mean
I
it.
do
It's-
like
No,
stories that
it's-
point out the most obvious weakness.
Yeah, the fact that like, oh, you've just got the superpowered belt. Okay, what if someone
And
takes
that
your belt?
somebody was going to figure that out eventually.
Yeah, and also when he has the belt, Icon just takes it away from him by dunking him in water because guess what? The whole like repulsion field thing doesn't work on water, so it's just super easy at that point. Yeah, which nice and clever,
Mhm.
but also yeah. I don't know. I do feel like Rocket. What kind of bugged me the most, I guess, was just the page where the guy, I don't even remember his name, like takes
It doesn't
away,
matter.
yeah, takes away the belt and says something about like, you don't know, baby. And then she thinks to herself, baby, as she sort of cradles her stomach and like he just like walks away with it. And I don't know. I guess it's made to make her seem like aware of the weakness or like the fact
Vulnerability.
that she has to protect her baby or whatever, but it also just makes me feel like it's very I don't know. It came off to me at least as very like, you know, fainting 50s female. Like it's very like, oh no, she's been pushed to the ground and is therefore helpless. Like it I don't know. That kind of robbed a lot of my what I otherwise might have liked about this issue right there. So I don't know. Maybe that's a little harsh, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Something
That's
about this issue
interesting.
didn't.
That's interesting because I guess I interpreted that baby part as because I mean if we're really even prior to this issue, right? Like with Raquel still going around and doing superhero stuff while being pregnant, our understanding as readers is like I guess she's not being reckless with her baby because this belt provides her with invulnerability, but like
What happens when she loses
it's
the belt?
yeah, because it's like I mean it's carrying a
It's
child is a legitimately like one of the most vulnerable situations for a person.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
I guess yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean you're right. You are right. Like it is a thing where, and of course it does come up. Like it in a couple issues, it gets to the point where yeah, she has to quit, and she does, and
Mhm.
I like the way that it's handled, and like I do like the overall arc for Raquel, where it's not just becoming a superhero, it's becoming a superhero and then immediately being pregnant and like losing what she only just had and having to kind of realize what it is she really wants out of life and where she's headed and what she wants.
Right.
It's yeah, I don't know. It bugged me a little in the moment. I guess I don't know. I
No,
also
I
just
mean I could see that. I could see
and it's
that.
also the villain is just so like I mean, talking about the super predator thing where he's just like, so many people die on page in this issue when like previously there wasn't a whole lot of death, I felt like in Marvel Milestone issues. I feel like this was sort
Right.
of this was a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting because I think that this villain was essentially a vehicle to explore this belt question, and so arguably you could have, I don't know, asked that question and tackled it with a variety of villains, but I
Sure.
think, but yeah, no, it's there, and like I think your earlier point of even juxtaposing it against that initial issue of this run where I was speaking about the super predators, it definitely applies because this guy is like literally bad because you know what I mean, and his whole inner monologue the entire time is that he's a gangster. He like shot his presumably his friends early on because he didn't think that they thought he was gangster enough or man enough, you
Yeah.
know. And then the mess up thing is it's like you don't even see what the interaction really was. So I mean, I came away thinking it's probably more his
Well,
kind
you
of
know, well,
twisted
hold on a second though,
interpretation.
because let's take a look at these guys. Um, he's in a sweater and a collared shirt.
Yeah, he's
I think this is
Okay.
somebody who's well, I mean, just given how they've drawn the gangsters. I took him as a like legitimately messed up.
But we don't even know that these guys are gangsters.
No, that's my point. I don't think they are. I don't think they are. I think they called him a wannabe gangster because he was spouting off and whatever. And like the way he proved that he wasn't a wannabe is he decided to shoot his friends instead.
and then
Um,
basically do a falling down, not a falling down, but yeah, basically pulling a
Walking. Oh wait, what's that?
what?
Um,
Walking tall. No, the I said falling down the Michael Douglas one, but that's not actually really a good compare. What's the Natural Born Killers? Maybe I don't know, but
yeah,
like
it's got some natural born killers
it's got some
going.
yeah.
Natural Born Killers. Just like deciding to basically go on TV and declare himself king of the city and everything was very like
Well, and even when he once he declares himself king of the city, what does he want? He wants everybody to leave. He doesn't
yeah,
want it
and
all. I mean, this
oh,
is
except
not
for
a
you,
well
you're
man.
you're hot. You're gonna be my queen. Like
Right, right.
it's yeah, it's a weird.
Um, so I mean, I think he was the over the top way to have a lot of action and display the great vulnerability of the belt. And in between, Raquel gets to do a lot of soul searching.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah. So and to that point, there's definitely interesting stuff that's happening here. Like
Right.
especially with yeah, Raquel and these other questions. But yes, this guy definitely is one of the less compelling villains.
Yeah.
And
He's
I,
no
I, I
payback.
think
I mean,
that's on
yeah.
purpose.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I still just couldn't help thinking like, what if this was like a more interesting or more long running villain? Maybe they only had an issue to do
I
it.
mean,
I don't know.
maybe, but I mean, I think it was. This is really Raquel's issue, even if she doesn't have the most pages.
Mhm.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
So if you make it a longer running villain, if you make it a more interesting villain, you run the risk that Raquel won't take center stage like she's supposed to.
That's yeah, good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's
And for that matter, the sheer ridiculousness of it, because it makes sense that Raquel is a basket case here, right?
yeah.
Icon
Mhm.
is generally much better at keeping his cool, not letting his anger guide his reactions, whatnot. And he has trouble with that here. And I think it's important that he has trouble with it here because
Mhm.
because she shouldn't necessarily rely on him to have inhuman calm all the time,
Right.
right? But to realistically have Icon lose his cool, you need something pretty ridiculous. Particularly if you're
Right.
going to have him lose his cool in like a really short period of time. And we start Worlds Collide next issue. So they didn't
That's
have
yeah.
multiple issues to do stuff with this. They had,
That's
Right.
that's the thing that I remembered is like, oh yeah, that's where they kind of have to do a bunch of
right.
not guest issues, not fill-in issues, but like one and done issues. Oh yeah, it's because they have to line everything up for the big crossover a little
Yeah.
bit.
Well, and if you think about it, yeah, crossovers can be frustrating. I actually did enjoy Worlds Collide, but we'll get to it. I have a lot to say about it.
I really am looking forward to it because I never got the chance to read like the fully uh the assembled Worlds Collide. Like I've read kind of all the individual the
Right.
milestone pieces. I don't think I ever read all the DC
Ooh.
pieces. I think I missed.
Get ready for some traditional DC creators who just don't get these characters.
Oof.
But they're trying.
No, I know, but I mean, that is going to be interesting just to see, yeah, what happens when regular DC guys get their hands on the milestone characters. Or I'm also looking forward to vice versa. I want to see, I want to see
Yeah.
Dwayne McDuffie do an issue with Superboy. Like that sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
I don't know what to expect.
Yeah, and having read these Worlds Collide in the last year, I would say this is a perfect example of the earlier point about how oftentimes Black writers can write white characters better. You know what I mean? Because it's
Oh yeah,
just like, what we all know it, and I
you're
would
soaking
say,
in it. Yeah.
yeah, and that's my estimation about the back and forth of say when like Superboy or Superman is written in Blood Syndicate as opposed to the other way around.
hmm Yeah, I am really looking forward to the Worlds Collide stuff for next month because it's not a thing I'd ever
No,
kind of had.
next month
That's
Oh,
true.
is hardware.
Yeah, we have hardware.
oh, that's right. We got to get to the hardware.
Next
Okay, yes.
month is hardware, and then we've got Infestation,
Blood
which is
Syndicate.
Blood Syndicate,
Okay.
and then probably at least 3 months of Worlds Collide since it's 14.
Yeah, Worlds
that's
Collide
all.
goes on for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 14 issues, so I'm thinking we should split it up into at least 3 months.
Right.
Oof. Okay. Wow. Yeah. All right. Well, we got our next few months lined up ahead of us. But yeah, I mean this is I these were a weird chunk of issues. These and the static ones because they were kind of, fill in done in one type things. They were interesting to see, how other writers approach the characters that have already been pretty well established. Um and mixed results, but like fascinating to see what people draw out of them. So, yeah. I don't know. I'm looking forward to the Worlds Collide stuff, but yeah, I am definitely looking forward to I forgot about Hardware and Blood Syndicate. Man, yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So hardware next, issues 13 through 16 of hardware.
nice. Well, cool. So next month we got set
We'll
up.
get a John Byrne cover on
Oh,
issue
boy.
13 because we got to get all the white boys in here at some point. Which, I mean, to be honest, I feel like, McDuffie had enough control, and I forget who was editing, that they must have had some level of friendship if they were letting him in. I don't think it was just, oh, and, I mean, Byrne is a real name, but Busiek wasn't yet.
That's true. I mean, this was before Astros or
Right.
like right around the time of Astro City. This was him
A couple
starting to
years
really.
before Astro City.
I forget if he'd done some Iron Man by this point or something, but yeah, he was.
No, I think his famous Iron Man was still very much in the future.
Yeah.
He had done quite poorly a decade earlier, a year of Power Man and Iron Fist.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Oh God, yeah, yeah. Oof.
And I
Oh,
think
boy.
Busiek would be the first one to tell you that, that was not his shining
not the greatest feather in his cap, maybe. So
Mhm.
yeah.
right.
I should go back and read those. Maybe. Or actually, I probably shouldn't. But yeah, I'm looking forward to some John Byrne covers. I'm looking for some. Looking forward to. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the hardware. I'm looking forward to Blood Syndicate. I'm looking forward to everything else. Yeah, man. This is fun stuff. This is peak
Looks like
milestone.
he'd done some
Yeah.
web of Spider-Man.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I actually just did a
In
full reread of
91,
Astro
he did-
City a few years ago. So that all that
we
stuff
actually
is
just finished. We've been doing Astro City as part of our monthly, so we did or
Oh,
our
shoot.
weekly. So we did the 5 Metro books that are available thus far.
yes. Yeah.
And we'll do
That's
the
fun
6th
stuff.
when it comes out. But yeah, no, it looks like he'd done like an issue here, issue there of stuff at this point. This was not Kurt Busiek yet. I
Yeah.
want to say his star making turn was probably on Marvels.
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
Marvels and then Astro City.
Yeah.
And then he had, I think, both Iron Man and Avengers and Thunderbolts in Heroes Reborn.
Oh, Thunderbolts.
That's
Right,
where,
of course. That was
Hmm.
that would have been one of the big ones that he hit early on,
you know,
relatively speaking.
so at this point, what he really was the guy that knew comic books. I mean, he's the guy that got Scott McCloud into comic books. That they went to high school together.
Ah, that's right.
He
Okay.
was the encyclopedic knowledge of comic books and wanted to do well. And by all reports is like the nicest guy. For that matter, you know, my only interactions with him have been emailing, and you know, he always responds even though he's been having health troubles, and it's always, look, I just can't do it now, thanks for being interested, you know, always the sweetest emails saying that he can't come on the show.
Mhm.
Whereas most people who aren't going to come on the show just don't respond,
Mm.
you know.
Mhm.
But at this point, you know, other than that run on Power Man and Iron Fist, I don't think he'd had a extended run. And not only was that not like great comics from his perspective, he was essentially given it because they liked him around the office and nobody else wanted to write it, but it sold just well enough that they didn't want to cancel it.
Hey,
You
you know,
know?
there have been worse ways to build a comics career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't actually manage to build his comics career off of that. And I can think of a dozen people that I know were kicking around in that era that probably would have. You know, you could have, I think it was still James Owsley at the time, but you could have kicked it to him.
Mhm.
You know, McDuffie was around. Dennis Cowan was around.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
yeah,
yeah, no.
he had some good. It was fun. It was fun enough, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and you know, and actually though, as I look at it, this was the one that he wrote first, and the other one came out second. So I don't know which he actually wrote first. I know which way they came out. So I was gonna say he seemed to get over some of the issues he'd had in that first script, but since it might have just been that there was enough different that he didn't have them, and then he had them on the next script.
Yeah.
Because it didn't seem to be trying to do anything with dialect. He just had them talk.
Yeah. Thank
Um,
God. That would have been a little much if he'd actually tried to do that.
Yeah, no,
Rough.
I read when we were doing our Charlie Brown, the Great Lost 22 Panels episode, because we somehow managed not to ever post before we deleted the recording of the Charles Schultz comic strip club. So we're going to do it again coming up in October. But one of the things I came across is Schultz struggled first with the creation of Franklin and then what to do with Franklin, because he didn't really
Man,
want
don't
to.
get me started. Go
Well,
ahead.
Yeah,
that's fair. But what I mean is the only reason he created him at all is he kept getting letters saying, "Why don't you have representation? Why don't you?" He's like, "Well, you know, I guess that's fair. Not everybody." But then he didn't know how to write him, so he just wrote him like any of the other kids because he didn't want to try to do something that was unauthentic, and he didn't have the experience. And yes, he could have and should have gone out and researched or not created the character or whatever. But I thought it was interesting that he was at least aware that, you know, I don't want to turn this into, you know, Charlie Brown's friend that talks funny or whatever.
Look, I mean, yeah, because speech is, I mean, and I'm grateful for that. You know, I mean, one of the funny things of Black people, a running joke amongst us is the Thanksgiving special, you know, where all the kids are sitting on one table, side of the table, and Franklin's by himself on the other. But
Oh,
even
God.
even with that, it's kind of like, I mean, and I know Charles Schultz did whatever, but this is the point though. I think in order to understand, how not to repeat the same offenses against different marginalized groups of people, you have to understand what those groups go to. And you even have
Right.
to like listen to those groups as they talk about their experiences. So I'm actually not really, all jokes aside, I'm not interested in slamming Charles Schultz. And I think he
Yeah.
was trying to do something. And he lived in the same country the rest of us do. And there's nothing, the two things did a lot for people not understanding Black people. You got the GI Bill, you got redlining. These things, we have been in a segregated ass country,
Right.
and that segregation works in white people's
Well,
favor
and
and
beyond that,
disfavor.
he was an introvert that did fairly well for himself relatively
Yeah.
early, so he segmented himself off even more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's the
yeah.
thing is like we don't even and that's a fair point. But to me, it's like it's even less so a question of Charles Schultz and his
No, I know.
motivations or character than it is just kind
I'm
of
not
like
trying to assign motivations at all.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. It's
stating
just
what I know to be true.
right.
What the motivations are, what his heart is, no idea.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, man, like I years ago, I just was like, I kind of don't care what people's motivations are. I care how
No, I get that.
you said no, but I'm not calling you out. I'm saying like I'm just talking about my experience. I got to a point where I'm just like, well, because look, everybody that's done something messed up has said that they don't have a racist bone in their body.
I,
Because,
I,
but
I
but
was
my point, yeah, no, but yeah, I'm not, yeah. What I'm saying though is that I realize at a certain point, motivations, all that stuff is irrelevant because everybody is cooking in the same stew. Just the same way as like guys, right? We're cooking the
absolutely.
stew of
I
patriarchy and misogyny, and we have to actively fight that stuff and listen and learn. You know what I mean?
right.
So
I was honestly not even thinking about motivations on that level. I was thinking his motivations for further isolating himself. I don't
yeah,
know
no,
what
I
level
got
that
you.
you were,
Yeah.
maybe he was trying to get away from poor people or whatever, but
No, not even. No.
Yeah.
But I even brought up redlining and stuff in the sense that like
even if you're not trying to, it happens.
America, no. Listen to what I'm saying. This
Okay,
is what
sorry.
I'm saying. America is constructed in a way where, like, if you're black, you have to at some point see and deal with white people. But if you're white, you kind of have the option to really not deal. You might do the whole thing where it's like, I'm gonna lock my doors for the 2 minutes that I drive through this part of town, and then I'm free. You know what I mean? But you really don't. So what it results in is just this lack of experience. So I only was bringing that up in reference to the idea of like, white writers being, I don't know how to write this person. And then the clunky attempts that happen when some of them are like, well, I'm going to write them by making them use language the way that I think it's used. You know what I mean? And actually, real quick, have either of you guys gotten to see American Fiction?
Not yet. I want to.
I definitely recommend it. I recommend it. One of the, I mean, and I swear this sounds like it's become the Percival Everett promotional hour, but like American Fiction is
He
based
does
on
good work.
Percival. He absolutely does. It's based on his novel Erasure. And there's one, I won't spoil it or tell too much, but there's one great scene where there is a literary awards committee, and there are two Black writers on this committee who have their own reasons for not wanting to award a book that is up for an award that is complicated to say the least and potentially harmful. You know what I mean? That is written supposedly about like Black people, but like they offer their counters of why they don't think that it should get the number one spot in this award. And the other three writers on the panel, I forget. There's a very poignant joke. I forget what it was. That's what it is. They totally shut down the two Black writers on the panel, like as they're trying to voice their concerns about representation, and then they say, "Well, it's 3-2. You lose. we have to start listening to Black people. Like, as they just like talked over the two Black people on the panel. And like that one just like really hit home for me because it like really mirrors a lot of my experience, even with people who are patting themselves in the back and feeling like they're doing the work. You know what I mean? And that's not to make anybody feel bad. It's just the reality. I think we all have to continuously like challenge ourselves as human beings,
I
period.
think you just hit why I don't like to pat myself on the back for much of anything.
I don't think anybody should though, right?
Just try to do it.
Yeah, because I mean,
sometimes I get it
stop
right,
growing.
sometimes I don't, and I try to learn. I mean, that's why I brought up Franklin, because I was leading to an honest question.
That's it.
Given three choices, I mean, let's just say, let's assume that the option of Schultz figuring out how to write a Black child that makes sense in the Peanuts universe just isn't going to happen. Would you prefer that Franklin not exist? Franklin exist as he does, where other than color, there's not a lot to differentiate him from the other kids, or for it to have wound up being some sort of caricature?
I mean, hold on one second. I'm sorry. First of all, I oftentimes in life there's more than three choices.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
for the sake of this exercise,
Right.
I mean, like whatever, he could be Black and kind of act the same, I guess. But the reality, and I'm a complicated person, so I'm gonna make it complicated.
That's fine.
The reality is that there's all kinds of Black kids. So there's not one way to write a Black kid. And I think that that is where sometimes white writers really stumble, is they're trying to write something authentic, but it doesn't come from knowing a person or even like researching or reading somebody's experiences. It just comes from like, I don't know, I think those guys at the bus stop were talking like this that time. You know what I mean? And like it leads to the the stuff that we've been discussing. You know what I mean? But so that being said, like yeah, if he wrote him, because to be honest, I never had an issue with Franklin as a kid. I almost think like a lot of the critiques um came in the social media era when people were able to screen grab that photo of him at the table. But overall, it's fine.
I mean,
I never
really,
was like I was never looking at it like, yo, why isn't Charles Schultz telling the real story of Blackness? Because like, we're
right.
multifaceted people. So
I mean,
there's not one version of Blackness.
because really, if Franklin winds up being the quiet one, he doesn't have him say a lot in a lot of the actual comics, just because he didn't know what to have him say. I mean, he writes about this. He again, I was reading, there's the golden anniversary book of Peanuts stuff where it takes like his favorite comics of the years and writes about them. And he writes about, how Franklin came about and how he struggled with him. And it essentially came down to, he just, he
Well,
never knew when to put him in and when not to put him in, and he never knew what to have him say.
well, you know what? I will definitely give Charles Schultz credit for the fact that he at least was aware that there was an issue, an issue with him not getting it. Because I will say this, what you just described with him, I see playing out on Netflix shows all the time or other shows
Right.
where writers will be like, well, I'm gonna put this Black character in, but they're just really just there to be on screen. And um I'm not gonna deal with their interiority. Because to be quite honest, like I'm I'm less concerned with whether it's Franklin or whatever, or just a Black character on any of these TV shows. I'm less concerned with them, quote unquote, having an authentic Black experience than I am with like, are they a fleshed out character?
Right.
Because when I think about the Black people in my life, they're all
Oh, absolutely.
there's such a wide range of people. They didn't all have one way of being, and so
I mean,
it's
going
kind of
back to
like
our very first, very, this is before Ted was even here, when Lamar joined us. I hope we'll get Lamar back one day. He's such a smart guy. He's just so busy. um, when we were reading hardware, and I brought up that I knew that it was an authentic representation, but it wasn't what I was used to seeing. And you both were like, "Yeah, but it makes sense, doesn't it?" I'm like, "Yeah, it makes a lot of sense."
Right.
I hate to cut anything short, but I
Yeah,
really do have to
it
kind
is
of head to
No,
bed.
no, it's that
I
time.
gotta sign off. Yeah.
It's that time. We're officially in like beyond babbling mode. So for the brothers Anderson, not related, this has been the Milestone Book Club on 22 Panels. We will see you after the next page.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22 Panels Podcast.